So, this is your Yoga Nidra body scan meditation. So, I'd like to give you the option of either doing this laying down on your back, whether you're on the floor or you're on your bed. It's up to you. Ultimately, you just want to be very comfortable. But the other option is that you could do this seated upright for a more um, alert experience, something that gives you less of a risk of falling asleep in the process. So, depending on the day and how you're feeling, you'll make that choice on your own. If you are upright, just finding a way to be as erect and vertical in your spine as possible with as little effort as you can manage. So, it shouldn't feel like a struggle or a battle to be there. So, the place in which I'd like you to use this ultimately, anytime you feel like you need rest. You need to let go of resistance. So, more or less, in any moment where you're starting to feel a lot of opposition, a lot of contraction, a lot of kind of forcing that sort of energy, particularly this week where our aim is simply to maintain a vibration or a stance of receptivity. So, anytime it's feeling like it's starting to become a lot of work, this is a good practice. I also like to use this type of a practice before bed as a transition into sleep, as well as oftentimes for me midday, where I'm feeling like, oh, I could use a nap or some chocolate or another coffee or whatever it is that you reach for. This might be a nice antidote that can sort of give you a little reset and keep you feeling fresh and receptive as you move through the day. So let's go ahead and get started finding whatever position you've decided on for today's installment. Just starting out with a few conscious breaths. I'd like you to tune in and see if you can really show up in the transition between your inhale and your exhale breath and seeing if you can make your direction or your purpose one of smoothing out that transition. So, in between your breaths, you'll follow the inhale to its peak, and at that peak moment, as you sort of spill over into the exhale, seeing how kind of smooth and gentle you can be. Same thing at the end of the exhale, moving into the inhale. And this can be tricky at times, but I want you to make this as effortless as possible. So, not looking to deepen the breath or lengthen it, but just really dropping into those transitions and seeing how smooth you can make them by way of being as attentive and gentle as possible. Coming into a really casual variation on what's often referred to as circular breathing. So, feeling as though there's actually no break in between the inhale and the exhale, that those transitions are really smooth and there's this continuity from one part of the breath to the other. And you might start to find that this is easier to do where you're not actually taking full, complete breaths, but rather coming to somewhere around three quarters full as well as empty. And as you become more proficient, you might find that the breaths are deeper and more expansive, but again, effortless. You're not fighting to get there. And just taking a few more rounds. And then you can let that go with your next exhale. Just letting the breath return to whatever it would naturally become all on its own. So, very simple body scan as it sounds. We will be scanning the awareness or the attention through the body as a means of sort of down regulating the mental process that is pretty much constant, as you may or may not have noticed, little by little. So I'll have you pay attention to various points in the body or even around the body. And your only job is to gently hold your attention in whichever space or region I have specified. The tendency here is that there can be a fairly sleepy quality to your awareness. And rather than fighting that, just seeing if you can, again, really drop into it, really show up in it, and sort of hold yourself there. If you are laying down, you might fall asleep. And if that's the case, that's what you need. And that will reset your vibration as well. So let's go ahead and bring the attention to the space in between the eyebrows. So we'll start with just the skin in between the eyebrows. And I want you to imagine as though that skin could loosen. So there would be no crinkling of the brow there, no wrinkles. A very gentle stretching, a softening, even an opening. And then very gradually, just feeling as though you could move the attention inside of the head, just behind this skin of that space in between the brows. And seeing if you can land your attention now in the space between your eyes. So, inside of your head, in between your eyes, can you drop your attention there and can you hold it there? And as we did with the skin between the brows, could you imagine that this space becomes more broad, more spacious, more open? Could you become aware of the volume of space in between your eyes, the density of space? And then from here, I'd like you to see if you can now move your attention back to the outer awareness of your physical form and locate your nose without moving and without looking for it, just moving your attention into your nose. So, that outer structure of your nose, the bones and the skin. Can you be aware now of the volume or the density of space that your nose occupies in space? Feeling as though the tissues, the skin, the bones, cartilage could relax. And in that relaxation, you become even more aware of or sensitive to your nose. And from there, could you become aware of the empty spaces that your nostrils occupy in space? Feeling or sensing the empty space of your nostrils, space that your nostrils occupy in space. From here, moving your attention to your lips. So simply becoming aware of your lips. Again, as though you were just feeling and sensing your way there, making sure the lips are still present without moving them and without being able to use your visual sense to locate them. Holding your attention there, aware of your lips. From your lips, now moving your attention inside of your mouth, moving all the way to the back of your throat and seeing if you can feel, sense the volume of empty space that the back of your throat, in between the back of your tongue and the back of your throat, occupies in space. This channel or column through which you breathe, ingest food, liquids. Can you be aware of that space? And can you even feel as though that space becomes slightly more spacious as you hold your attention there? Noticing that some of these might be more or less accessible, and knowing that whether it feels easy or it feels hard, there is great benefit in that we are simply pulling our attention over and over again out of the chatter of the mind. Even if just for a brief moment, there is so much to be gained in that glimpse, that moment. Moving your attention now to your neck, and we'll shift gears just a little bit. The pace will quicken just slightly. I want you to become aware of the entire column of your neck and the density or space that your neck occupies in space. So, aware of your entire neck from the inside to the skin, just aware without an agenda of your neck. Presence, energy, awareness in your neck. From here, can you be aware of the space around your neck? So, almost as though you would have like a ring encircling your neck, something like a ring that encircles a planet, Saturn, I think it is. Something like that. Can you be aware of that sort of field of space or energy that encircles your neck? The space just beyond your neck. And then from here, I'd like you to see if you can become aware of the entire upper section, upper half of your torso. So think of like a mannequin. We won't include the arms, but just from the shoulders to the sort of right around where your sternum is, your diaphragm would sit. So you can include the rib cage from the front to the sides, all the way around to the back, your shoulder blades, the tops of your shoulders, collarbones, rib cage, the upper half or section of your torso. Can you become aware of the volume or the density of space that this region occupies in space? The heart, the lungs, without an agenda, just holding your attention here, just aware. And then from here, can you become aware of the space just in front of your body, this section of your body, your upper torso, in space? So in front of your chest, your heart, pecs, the diaphragm, upper part of your abdomen, the space just beyond the body, empty space just in front of your upper torso. Can you be aware of this space? And then we'll drop down into the pelvis. So, pelvis as well as the lower section of your torso. So, from your sort of mid to low back down to the tailbone, the sacrum, back of the pelvis, buttocks, low belly, lower sides of the waist, the whole pelvic region. So everything that would be covered in the, we'll say like a Speedo, a pair of underwear, bathing suit, whatever you want to think, or even sort of like a high waisted lower half of a bathing suit. You get the picture. Seeing if you can become aware of this volume of space that your lower torso occupies in space, all the way to the groin, inner thighs, without including the legs. Feeling a sense of spaciousness or softening, broadening, sprawling perhaps through this lower region. And then seeing if you can bring your attention now into both arms, your upper extremities. So from the shoulder socket all the way to the tips of the fingers, feeling the density, the volume of space that your arms occupy, your hands, your forearms, your wrists, along with this sense of, again, spaciousness, softness, receptivity, non resistance, if you like, aliveness, awareness in your upper extremities. And then seeing if you can move that awareness down into the lower extremities. So now your legs, all the way from the sockets of your hips to the tips of your toes. Feeling the volume or the density of space that your legs occupy in space. Your feet, your ankles, your shins, your calves, your knees. The muscle, bone, tissue, all of it. Without an agenda, just awareness. Gentle. And then as you feel ready, I'd like you to see if you can now become aware of the entire volume, density of space that your body, your entire body, occupies in space. Experiencing your body as a whole. From this inner seat, this subtle awareness. About another minute, the entire body, from the top of your head, the outline of your face, across your shoulders, through the arms, all the way to the palms of the hands, fingertips. That entire front line of the torso, the lateral lines of the torso, back line, through the sides of the legs, backs of the legs, fronts of the legs. Feeling everything contained within the boundary, the silhouette of your skin. Feeling this inner aliveness, this buzz, this hum beneath the surface of your skin. As this intricate and coherent, unified whole. Seeing if you can keep this awareness of inner body and simultaneously become aware of the space that surrounds your body. So, roughly moving off of the body in all directions, 360 degrees, roughly 4 feet out in every direction. Can you become aware of that volume or density of space that would create sort of a sphere surrounding your body, a bubble, roughly 9 feet in diameter, while you simultaneously hold an awareness of the volume or the density of space your inner body occupies in space. Feeling how you become much less tense, much less dense, You move from very solid, very physical, very gross to much more subtle sense of being a field of energy. And for the next couple of minutes, just seeing if you can hold this awareness of the inner and the outer body simultaneously. You may have heard the term aura before. When I say outer body, your projection or your electromagnetic field, this field of energy around your body, your outer body, the extension of your inner body. Again, no agenda, just awareness. It's as though you give yourself a reboot. So, very gradually and casually, when you feel ready, you can bring a little movement, very little, into your extremities, fingers, your toes, your feet, and your hands, maybe rolling the ankles, the wrists, waking things back up very slowly and ultimately intuitively. So, moving in a way that feels organic. And you may like to roll off to one side and linger in fetal pose for ultimately as long as you like, but a few moments at least, feeling as though you get this opportunity to be reborn in this moment, so to speak, as though you could wake from this practice with a clear point of attraction, a clean slate. And when you're ready, you can make your way up to seated, perhaps a moment to bow your chin, bring your prayer hands together.